welcome to an NDTV special on World Mental Health Day, a day that is observed every year on the 10th of October to basically dedicate ourselves to creating more awareness, improving accessibility and affordability, and eradicating stigma around mental health issues. The theme for World Mental Health Day this year is mental health as a universal human right. The objective, to make it fundamental, to make it undeniable, and to make the world we live in more humane. Even though mental health problems are commonplace in the modern world today, the World Health Organization has noted that people often discriminate against mental health patients and deprive them of their basic human rights. This year, therefore, the World Health Organization theme is mental health is a universal human right. According to the World Health Organization, 1 in 8 people in the world today suffer from a mental health condition. Mental health issues among younger and adolescents are on the rise. This again is a huge cause of concern. Everyone therefore has the right to be protected from mental health risks, and a healthy society, remember, is healthy for overall health and well-being of us as a global community. Better mental health conditions therefore will ensure that there are lesser human rights violations. So, well, where are we as far as the India story on mental health is concerned? Joining us today on this special show are people who are very deeply connected with the issue at a ground level and at a personal level. Dr. Shyam Bhatt, psychiatrist and chairperson of the Live, Love, Laugh Foundation, with us. Anisha Padukone, the CEO of the Live, Love, Laugh Foundation, is also with us. And we have a very special guest, Rachita Mohan, a public relations specialist. She's agreed to come on the show today to share her journey with depression. Thanks very much, Rachita, especially to you for being with us. If I can begin, Dr. Bhatt, by asking you, the question that I posed at the very outset: where are we as far as the India story is concerned? What is our ground reality? Do you think that we've made giant leaps, or do you think we have miles to go?
Well, Rishika, we have made quite a bit of, we have advanced a lot in our awareness and understanding. And I think more people are aware of the need for mental health. And particularly after COVID, I think when a lot of people started suffering from it, I think the conversations have become, much more about mental health. And of course, as a foundation, that's been part of our effort. But of course, the scale of the problem is huge. And I think that's what we really need to understand, because it is something that affects literally every family in India, right? So you have at least 200 million people in India who are suffering from some form of mental illness, either depression or anxiety, and an even larger number of people who are suffering from stress. And we know that stress can cause anxiety and depression, and they're all linked. So the numbers of people suffering and who would potentially suffer if we don't do something as a society, as an individual, as organizations, that's also true. And that's where we must place all our effort as a country in the prevention as well as treatment and awareness of the need for, mental health.
Right. If I can come to you, Anisha Padukone, you as a family, whether it's your sister, yourself, you've really put yourselves out there front and center, in lending a voice to this cause. Now, of course, you're leading an organization that's working at the grassroots, talking about mental health. But how important is it for us to be able to have the conversation, for us to be able to address the most fundamental concern, which in India still continues to be fighting the stigma of mental health?
No, absolutely. I think everything starts with acceptance, whether it is for a person with mental illness, whether it's for a caregiver, whether it's for us as society and a community. I think all of this just starts with acceptance, and once we're able to sort of accept that mental illness is sort of treated as equally as it is to physical ailments like diabetes or cardiovascular disease, is only then when we can actually make certain progress. And I think in the last 7 years as a country, while we still have a long way to go, we have sort of begun that process.
Right.
But all of it starts with acceptance, and as Live, Love, Laugh, we're here to spearhead that movement.
Rachita, what's your experience been? Do you think that there is acceptance, there is increased awareness, and most importantly, do you believe that there is accessibility now? I mean, if you've crossed the first two hurdles, which is accepting that and acknowledging that there is an issue that needs to be addressed, and you've addressed it with your family, is it easy to seek quality mental health in our country?
I think it definitely is. I was very lucky in the sense that my parents were very supportive of me, and I think friends were another issue altogether. There were some who understood, some really that didn't understand. So there's still that stigma and you still hold yourself. I held myself back a bit. Initially, when I had to share my struggles with mental health, a lot of people, when I said I'm dealing with anxiety or depression, they said it's such a privileged problem to have. And that really, it hits you hard because you don't know how to really express yourself. But I was very, very lucky in that sense because I come from a family that were very supportive, that have been supportive, and they got me the right aid at the right time and the right support that I needed. So it definitely is possible. I think we have come a very long way because 8 years ago, I don't think I would have even openly been in a position to articulate myself and talk about my struggles. But today, I think we as a country have made tremendous progress. So, yeah.
Can you tell us a little more about your own battles? And I don't mean your personal battles in terms of how you fought depression, but how easy or difficult. You said your family really supported you, but my question on how easy or difficult it is to access quality mental health support, because with the proliferation and understanding of mental health issues, I think there is also a proliferation in those practicing and trying to help people. But how do we actually, get qualified mental health aid? Are there tips that you'd like to share with people?
I can only speak from my personal
Yes.
experience, and what happened for me was, I think during the pandemic, I noticed that I was not really myself. I was my parents noticed that I was not eating as usual. I started losing a lot of weight. I used to cry at the drop of a hat. And these were small signs, and they said, I think you need some intervention.
Right.
And we spoke to the general physician, that's our family physician, who's also my uncle. And then I think we went about identifying the process through online therapy, and I think we saw the reviews.
Right.
I was lucky enough to get in touch with a good counselor who helped me through the process. But I think it's also like from what I had to undergo, I would say that with the help of the counselor, I think the family support
Right.
and the friend support that I had in the work that I was able to do with myself, I was able to come out of it.
Okay.
So I think during the pandemic, especially, there was also a lot of online platforms that were promoting, or it was easier for you to get access to mental health.
Two key questions.
Services.
Two key questions that still remain, and Dr. Bhatt, if I can bring you back into the conversation, in terms of the question that I was asking Rachita as well. Has there been some kind of a paradigm shift in terms of awareness and understanding of mental health issues post-COVID? Do you think there's been perhaps an enhanced conversation around it, which has actually lent maybe more focus to the cause?
I think after COVID, people realized that depression and anxiety is not something that just happens to some people who are different from everybody.
Right.
I think after people realize that stress, anxiety, and depression can and does affect people from all walks of life, and that there's nothing to be ashamed about, because once so many people start going through something, that finally breaks through the barriers of stigma and people are able to start talking and sharing. So that actually was one silver lining out of the stressful event that was COVID, where
Sure.
I think as a society really, fast forwarded the conversation of mental health. Of course, keep in mind that the stage was already set because of, work that was being done by various bodies and organizations.
Yes.
But definitely COVID was what took this to the next level in terms of opening up conversations.
Are
So
we
that's
any-
definitely...
Right. Are we any closer, Anisha Padukone, to bridging the rural-urban divide as far as mental health issues are concerned?
So I think the challenges are slightly different. I think, for what urban India requires and the way you would go about sort of tackling it would be very different from what you would do in rural India. Of course, almost 70% of India resides in rural communities. So, in fact, one of the key programs that Live, Love, Laugh runs is a rural community-based program where we provide free access to treatment, psychosocial rehabilitation, and all the other facilities that are required to treat mental illness in rural India. It's a little bit more community-centric and community-based. We have begun that process, and there are other organizations doing work in rural India as well, but definitely still a long way to go.
All right, still a long way to go as far as implementation of a lot of these thought processes in rural India are concerned. But I think that's where the entire theme of the World Health Organization really comes into play, which is recognizing mental health as a basic fundamental human right. Anisha, do you think that if a goal like this actually sees implementation at the grassroots level, it could essentially transform the way we live as a society, the way we think as a society?
Absolutely, there's no doubt about it, because I think the ill effects of mental illness, we've all seen it all these years, and I think, like Dr. Sham said, the pandemic has only accelerated that negatively, and therefore the awareness and sort of understanding of mental illness also has increased post the pandemic.
Right.
So I think for us as individuals, as a community, as a nation, to be able to take mental illness seriously, we'll have to do a lot more work on the prevention aspect, focus more on our mental health, focus on taking care of mental illness as well. So I think it's going to have to be, sort of tackling it from different avenues, also depending on which target audience you're reaching out to, what is required.
Sure.
But if we do focus on these things, absolutely, we'll all be able to lead, better quality of life.
Well, like I said, today is a day that's only an excuse to once again lend a focus on what is a very important issue. And I thank you all very much for sparing the time and joining us on NDTV.